Well, actually, I would consider Final Crisis is pretty much a part of that same era. What did you think
Yeah,
of Final
yeah.
Crisis? Because there's big mixed reviews. You either love it or hate it, or maybe you have to read it twice to really appreciate it. So, how do you feel about Final Crisis? And like I asked you in TikTok, do you think it's overall better if you buy the omnibus or if you just have the event trade itself, which the trade does collect, like the two Superman issues that you spoke about that are crucial to the story. But other than that, it's just the event, a couple Superman issues.
Yeah.
But is the omnibus you think better overall?
I th- I think it's better overall because Final Crisis is such a like wide lens event. Like you really, it's like death by a thousand cuts. Like there's just so many little pieces that are spread out through other titles that kind of culminate into the Final Crisis. Um, so I would say the omnibus is favorable for that event, but hearing that the trade paperback does collect the most important tie-in, I would say that's a solid way to pick it up. I think you just need to decide which way you want to go as a reader. Like, do you want all of those breadcrumbs, no matter how confusing they're going to be, or do you just want the story and you're just going to walk away and say, "Oh, I'm done after that. I don't want any more details." Because Final Crisis, it's all one or the other. There's no like a little bit of dabbling. Like you gotta either figure it all out or just scratch the surface. It's
Yeah,
one or the other.
I think that's what separates the people who love it and who hate it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
because it is confusing. It is a really confusing. I don't know. I mean, I have read so much around it that I understood enough. So when I picked it up, and I was pretty hooked from the beginning because I think some new god got killed. So it was all of a sudden a murder mystery from the very beginning. So I was like, I mean, this is pretty
yeah,
good so far. The art's good. Grant Morrison's just so weird. He always leaves me wanting more in some areas, but in other areas he like exceeds. He's such a complex writer. I think he's amazing. I think he at some points I think he could benefit from getting a little just for a couple scenes here and there, getting a little more grounded, just giving us the simple satisfaction of maybe a certain feud, a certain fight, but it's also you know big and grand, and
yeah.
it could be confusing. So great writer. I just think don't be so smart every single page. Tone it down. Give us a little bit of a good.
Yeah, a lot of people either think Morrison as a writer is 100% pretentious and he's, just being confusing for the sense of being confusing, or that Grant Morrison as a writer is so gifted that no one understands the intellect that is being wielded by that writer. So it's one or the other. You're not in between again. But with that being said, and I guess some kudos to Grant Morrison in that regard, um, I've never seen a writer that has more um, like we can get really, really highbrow, thought out, detail oriented stuff, or we can actually get some more chill, understandable stories. And I've never seen a writer that can do both so well because you look at stories like We Three, which is really easily understood, a lot of fun. But then you look at Final Crisis where it's like, what is going on? Like, I need to know every nugget of detail to even put this picture together. So he as a writer, just so many weapons, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. So kudos to him, but also he's a hit or miss writer in general.
Yeah, no, I agree. You've read his Animal Man?
Yes, yep.
I think that was spectacular. I
A
thought that
lot
was
of
so
people
good.
say that was before the mind that he did have was lost. So um, that's
Really?
that's the common consensus.
What a cool twist ending, though. I mean, that's so creative and wild and like just the weirdest, twistiest of endings after a really just solid superhero story. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of his most accessible, at the same time being one of the most weird once you get to that twist ending.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely the most accessible. I think it has omnibuses, deluxe editions, trade paperbacks. I think it has like every type of format out there that you
Yeah.
can read it in.
And I mean accessible as far as storytelling, like
Oh,
as
okay.
with his such complex writing and other things. I feel like this one's super simple. I mean,
Yeah,
you
the
don't need to have a
simplest I've read is We Three. I don't know if you've read that before.
negative.
Yeah,
It's
that
indie.
is good.
It's indie, or is it DC or what?
DC, but it's Black Label, so it kind of toes the line there. But it has nothing to do with DC Universe. But it
Okay.
is so good, so emotional. Frank Quitely on art, which I know he's hit or miss for some people, but I
Miss.
love.
He's kind of a miss for me. You love him.
Oh, I love Frank Quitely. Oh no, come
Here's how
on.
I explain it. I absolutely love everything about his art except the characters' faces and bodies. The
Yeah,
setting is freaking awesome. It's like it's simple yet so detailed and complex while still being simple. I mean, just to the point where you're putting this on a page, this is something that's cinematic that not many other artists can achieve. You could easily interpret it. I don't mean complex in a way that like it's hard to, you have to figure out what's going on. It's just so cinematic and so the setting is just on point. It's
yeah,
just the faces. I just feel like there's kind of some balloon faces going on, and that
yeah.
kind of takes me out of it. It's a small gripe, and I have grown to like it a lot more. So I don't hate him. I don't like him as much as the people who do love him. Like you said, it's hit or miss. I think I'm maybe a rare in the middle kind of guy with him.
Well, if it makes you feel better, we three, the main characters are animals, so you don't have to see any human faces. So
Oh, now that you say that, I feel like someone did just bring that up to me recently. It's about an animal thing. Anyway, yeah, no,
yeah,
I'm down. I think my favorite Grant Morrison writing though ever is the Batman stuff.
I think that's the common consensus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Grant Morrison's Batman. Has he written anything for Marvel? I don't think so,
N-
right?
Not anything that's coming to mind. Yeah, I don't think so. No, nothing that's coming to mind at least.
For sure.
That might be a good answer for Google there. I have no clue.
Yeah. So I guess with DC events, we're gonna finish that
Oh,
up.
actually, what? Geez, what am I thinking? New X-Men.
Oh my God, I was just thinking of his art there too. I mean, Frank Quietly's art, but yeah, that was new
Yeah,
X
New
Men.
X-Men.
I
Holy
was just
moly, that's like my
picturing,
favorite X-Men run. Oh,
right? We're both his book is in our mind, and we're like, nope, he hasn't wrote Marvel, so. But
yeah,
yeah,
because when you were saying you don't like the faces, first thing that came to mind was New X-Men. I'm like, yeah, his faces in New X-Men are pretty hit or miss, and then we just circle around that and just leave it.
yeah, that's funny. Amazing. That's an amazing run.
Yeah, really good.